most people think they know Amazon. And I'm not talking about Amazon pros. I'm talking about brands, marketing managers, and e-com directors. They don't know their numbers.
My guest today is Andrew Morgans, founder and CEO of Marknology, an Amazon brand accelerator in Kansas City. He spent 11 years running 300 brands on Amazon, over $2 billion in managed revenues, and 12 exits. He also owns a warehouse, built his own AI operating platform for profitability, PPC, and inventory management. He also has a personal portfolio of 8 brands. Drew, that's a lot of things.
Well, I don't do it by myself. And, you mentioned 11 years. That's 11 years with Marknology, my company, but I've been in the e-com space about 15. So when you add up 15 years, it's a little bit more time to kind of get these things together and kind of the why. But a lot of them are vertically integrated also. So, the warehouse helps me with the brands I've been building, and the warehouse helps me with the agency and vice versa. So a lot of them just work together and make sense.
Yes, it makes sense, and I see this a lot. Like, traditional marketing is all about focus. Just focus on one thing, make the best out of it, right? But you figure out during your journey that yes, you can launch your brand, you can start an agency, at some point of time, probably launch your own warehouse, which is great. So I love this, and it's definitely the right way to go in our business, right? With e-commerce, makes a lot of sense.
Well, I don't know if it's the right way to go, but it's the way I'm going, and I'm sticking to it. So, when you're just trying to figure things out, sometimes the best way is to get your hands into it, So working with other brands in the agency side, having my own brands helps me communicate with them, helps me understand what's going on, keeps me connected to the pulse. Same thing with the warehousing side, was just seeing how many small brands struggle, specifically small brands struggle with 3PL partners and warehousing partners. And, there's so many things against you when you're trying to get a brand off the ground. There's so many things against you, from cost to just life happens types of things. And if I can control any aspect of that and give myself a better opportunity or a better chance at winning, then I'm going to take it. And that's kind of, in 2020, when I launched the warehouse, what was really on my mind was I had all these customers that were getting kicked out of their warehouses, or they weren't big enough and they were making way for bigger customers, and the warehouse was selling and exiting the business, and they were just, their business basically stopped working why they didn't have warehouse or 3PL worked out, and just motivated me. So some of it's just survival, I think. Even times are getting hard, margins are getting slim. Writing your own software and building your own tools is a way to keep costs lower and things like that. So it's all kind of been out of necessity, but I can't do it alone. I have a great team that helps me execute on most of it. So yeah, I'm still having fun. 15 years in. There's always new challenges. I think that that's the benefit of e-com, is that there's a never ending amount of problems to solve or to work on. So I'm still staying interested in having fun.
Nice. Another fun fact, Marknology is a family-owned business, right? I
mean, yes, sir.
Tell us more about that. Was it helpful? I mean, this is one of the reasons probably to diversify to other areas.
Yeah. So when I started out in this space, I was a first mover in the Amazon space, like one of the early first movers, and no one was going to school for this. Honestly, it was too early to start charging for services. People didn't know what it was. People didn't want to pay for it. You're having to educate everyone on, this is Amazon. This is how it works. This is why you need it. And there's a lot of resistance 15 years ago from brands, I'm telling you. You fast forward 10 years and it's a common household. Amazon is known by everybody. But at the time there wasn't. And I was onto something. I was having some results as a freelancer, kind of getting more work than I could handle on my own. I work with both of my sisters. They're brilliant people on their own. And the first one was my older sister. She has a master's in engineering, was living in Florida. And I was reaching out to her. At first, she started working for me remote, kind of helping me with projects, Excel files, building out content, things like that. And eventually I said, sis, like I need help. And so I was growing something, so she left that career behind and actually came and joined me as employee two, really. I was a couple years in though at that time. So like a couple years in, a couple years later, my younger sister came and joined me as well. She had been working in the equestrian space for a long time, maybe 10 years in the equestrian space. And she's the smartest of all of us. But she was working in a different field. And I was like, hey, I've got something, we're building something. And, we come from a missionary family. I grew up in Africa, different parts of Africa, Cameroon and Congo, till I was about 16, along with my sister. So we are very close just for the childhood we had and like how we grew up and what we kind of went through together. And then fast forward into our adult lives, family was in a tight spot, if that makes sense, as a whole. And so we kind of just saw this mission together that like with entrepreneurship, like so many other families, like this is a way for us to kind of bind together with a mission and together like create some security and safety and an opportunity for the family. So I think for a lot of people, family businesses don't work. Maybe it's something of the past, like, in today's day and age. For me, I wouldn't be here without them. You can't pay an employee enough in the early days, I think, for what you need from them, the work you need from them, the stress, the pay is low, all those types of things. And it was only probably family that would have gotten me to this point. Now we're a team of 30 plus. So, we've grown way past those early days, but it was definitely them just sitting next to me, just watching me work, kind of picking it up and saying, okay, Drew, I'll help you with this. And that's really how we scaled for quite a few years, was just simply leaning on each other to handle the workload. It was before there was Amazon VAs in the Philippines and India and Pakistan and around the different parts of the world where you could get affordable help because it hadn't been built yet. It was really leaning on people, specifically my sisters, my family, to help us get here.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, really interesting story. I mean, growing up as a missionary kid, living in Africa and those countries, and then launching the business with a family, that's really... Yeah, I love to hear this kind of stories, and really well done. It's really
thank
really
you.
cool.
It wasn't a whole life like that. Like definitely from like for me from 20 to maybe 26, 27 years old, we were all separated, kind of like different parts of the US doing our thing. And it was really like me kind of feeling and communicating like, I think I'm onto something. I think this is like something that could benefit us all. I need help. And then they kind of just moved from around the different parts of the US, moved to Kansas City to assist me. So it wasn't just like we were always together our whole lives. It was like we had gone our own ways, and the business brought us back together. So I'm very thankful.
Yes, sure. So Drew, I mean, you talk a lot, and I hear about saying that you need to manage Amazon as a P&L, not as a sales channel, right? What do you mean by that?
So most people say and I say this like respectfully, like most people think they know Amazon. And I'm not talking about Amazon pros. I'm talking about brands, business owners, people selling on Amazon. But I've talked to so many brand owners and marketing managers and e-com directors. They don't know their numbers. At the end of the day, they don't really know their numbers, what Amazon's costing them, what it's not, where their fees are, where their profit centers are. And so I focus a lot on, look, if you're trying to keep a customer as an agency, the best way to do it is to make them profitable. Okay. So, not just doing 100,000 a month or 50,000 a month or 10,000 a month, but actually what are we making? Is it paying for me as a service provider plus some to make it worth their time? And so a lot of times when I engage with a new brand, the number one focus before anything else should be like getting our numbers in line, getting accuracy, making sure we know where our dollars are going so that we can make a plan to go forward based on the best way to get us to those goals. And of course there's brands that are maybe they've got a VC or they've got a private equity firm that's really pushing them for top line growth, and margins don't matter, profitability doesn't matter. But generally, those aren't the brands I'm working with. I think even past 2020, there's even less of that. Like after the pandemic, there's even less of that. Like, let's just push for high top line, but instead it's like, let's grow profitable businesses. And so, yeah, I talk about it a lot because it's I think maybe the most important thing. And it's not just Amazon, actually. It's Shopify and Meta and Google and TikTok Shop and Walmart and all of the above.
Yeah. So what I hear you say is that probably there's a lot of focus on top line revenues and a lot of like hidden cost or variety of cost elements that are ignored or probably misunderstood, right, by the brand leaders and CMOs. So can you walk us through, even on a SKU level P&L, or some of the items, mostly on the cost side, that are usually or people are missing?
Well, I would get on a call. We're launching a brand or we're taking over a brand and we're seeing crazy growth. And I'd get on a call and with the customer and they would not be seeing it the same as me, right? They're like, my bookkeeper's saying we're not making any money. Amazon's not making money for us. What's going on? And I can't answer that. I can't dig into that truth or disprove it until we have like accurate numbers. And so to truly storytell where we're going, or let's say that we're great at top line sales, but not profitable, or let's say that we're profitable, but we're trying to grow top line sales, or let's say that 20% of the catalog is underperforming, all these different things, you have to get very granular to then say this 20% is a 20% losing money, or this is what's going on. And on Amazon, you have storage fees, you have returns, you have pretty high referral commissions, like just for selling on Amazon. You have FBA fees, you have advertising costs, you have a variety of things. Then you add in tariffs, you add in any of these other complexities that exist for e-com. And there's a lot of things that all contribute to taking away your margin, so you have to know, can I offer that subscribe and save discount? For Prime Day, should I be offering that deal? Like, are we double dipping and really I'm paying for an ad on Meta that's then coming to Amazon and capturing it there? Do I want that to happen? Is it on purpose? Is it accidental? So it's really looking at channels as best you can. First, get it specific to that channel and then go bigger and look at for a lot of my brands that have a D2C site in Amazon, there's a specific amount of the Meta ads specifically, or TikTok ads, that have a halo effect onto Amazon. That's just the facts. So I try to articulate that. I try to figure that out. It's not clear down to line direct attribution, but when you look at it as a blended view, and you see, okay, we have branded search on Amazon happening because we're running Meta ads. We wouldn't have had them without Meta ads. You can kind of attribute some of that to that. And it's just a better way to run e-com. Every channel has its own little differences in fees and nuance and different costs. And so for me, it's never about perfection, but it's about as close as we can getting down to accurate information. So then we can make a path going forward.
Yes. And obviously just figuring out all the cost element, having a real, P&L overview, right, on a monthly basis, but also cash flow and return on investment, because in the initial few months, right, you're actually investing to capture, eyeballs and brand awareness, and then you focus probably more on conversion. So different stages of it.
100%. And as an agency, I want to storytell what we're working on, right? Yeah. So a quick example, I'm working with a brand. They do about 10 million on Amazon, D2C, Meta, Google, email, that kind of thing. So a full e-commerce channel. And they're mainly e-commerce, not in retail. And this is a move that we made on Amazon that if we weren't storytelling, would it make sense, right? So basically I saw let's say our advertising breakdown is 50% branded search and 50% new to brand customer, just ranking terms and things like that. Well, my thought was, well, we're trying to grow sales. We've been kind of plateaued. We're profitable, but we've been kind of plateauing for the last year and a half or so. We want to grow sales. How do we get there with the same budgets? What do we do? So generally, if a a lot of times agencies get into this management mode instead of like a growth mode or proactive mode. And they're just like, let's maintain the margin.
Mm-hmm.
Let's maintain ROAS. Let's maintain profitability, ACOS. Like, and that's how you get into this, like, kind of plateau state, is by over managing. So my thought process, because that's why I got hired, was to come in and try to grow where they've plateaued. That was my mission, so to speak. I backed off of branded search. I want to show you why I wasn't chasing the KPIs. Backed it off of branded search. The last few years, the strategy has been like, get exact match. And for anyone listening, what I mean by exact match is like, don't waste any time on generic searches. Instead, on Amazon, let's get like, they're looking for this, like very specific search. I'm trying not to say the brand while I'm telling the story, but and that's how this account was set up. Very profitable, but like lean. There's a lot of extra growth, etc. But with AI, with Rufus, with these things changing, there's been this move to go away from the negatives and exact and very like fine tuning the ads, and instead go a little bit wider, where people are searching with sentences, people are searching in agentic search, people are like asking questions. What's the best machine for 2026? These types of searches, like in Google. And so I backed off of branded search. I added more broad, chose different selection, and what we saw was like 1.2 million at the same spend. Okay, 1.2 million more impressions. Cost per click went from $3.85 or $4 down to 70 cents. Generally, you're like, okay, I expect conversion rate to drop also. Conversion rate dropped because we're giving it a lot more views. But our cost per acquisition went from like $40 to $11.
Wow.
So conversion rate dropped, ACOS dropped, ROAS dropped, if that makes sense. But cost per sale, cost per acquisition went way down. And so if you're only chasing certain metrics, you don't have your numbers fine-tuned, you're not, you can't do these types of tests and really like, so many people just get stuck on the same metric that they're trying to improve and forget to look elsewhere. And so having your data tracked like that as an agency, as a pro, as a brand owner, allows you to kind of say, okay, that's where the metrics are. But let's take a story. Let's take a trip. What if we were able to lower cost per acquisition? Let's go try to do that. And this is how we're going to try to do it. For example, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It was a little bit, okay.
And obviously all these decision making is trying to figure out from data, what's the topic we're going to focus right now, try to improve some of the parameters, right? We need more data to take more decision. So let's drive more traffic, or whether we want to increase conversion, just trying to figure out, what to do over time in different stages of this journey, right? So that's
right.
And
being a good leader, being a good business owner of your own company, of your own life, your own strategist, right? Yes. Is what is the focus for now? Not like what's the focus for all of time, like, and so like we were talking earlier before the show kicked off about balance, and you had just taken a trip with, your wife, and I was talking about taking a trip with my mom, and we were talking about the balance of entrepreneurship and the difficulty with it, and doing our best to try. And I don't know about you, but in my personal life, I generally am like, I'm focusing on my health right now, or I'm focusing on family, or I'm focusing on reading more, or I'm focusing on getting more rest, more sleep, or I'm focusing on not being too stressed. We pick a thing to focus on, and so if we only focused on rest 100% of the time and we didn't switch our focus, right? Like that wouldn't be balanced either. That would be a bad thing. And I think like in businesses, so many times like the manager, the owner gets focused on a couple things that it thinks it needs to focus on. And maybe it did, but 3 years ago and now, or 3 months ago. And now the focus needs to change and adjust now that we hit that goal or that focus. Perfection isn't the goal. It's just improvement, right? So a lot of times when brands get stuck, it's that we need to just change our focus a little bit and find a new area to try to improve, even at the cost of the other area that we've been focused on for a long time.
Yes. I mean, you mentioned and used the word focus a lot, and it sounds like the right thing to do. And probably we can add like, we need to learn how to prioritize things for ourselves, right? Both in work and in our daily life. Try to figure out, what do we spend time on and what do we delegate, and because it can get crazy, right? I mean, we have so many things to do, right? Both in life and also in work. So just trying to prioritize things, probably delegate smartly.
Yeah,
just to focus on the important things you want to do. Yeah,
that's the balance, And for me, family is important. My friendships are important. My health is important. So, what will be the cost of let's say becoming a millionaire, multimillionaire, and having no health, like to walk around the city I'm traveling to or whatever, right? So I can't lose that in the process. I've seen so many people lose their health in the process of chasing goals, because a lot of times there is a certain amount of sacrifice that you give when you change your focus or your priority. So if my priority is money, that's going to drive my life. If my priority is legacy, that's going to drive my life and my focus, different things like that. So knowing what that is for you and what it actually is, not lying to yourself, but picking aligning yourself with the right thing is critical, even in your business or your personal life, whatever. You can't focus on everything. Multitasking is not real. So it's a matter of, I think that is the key to being a good business owner, a good entrepreneur, is constantly, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever, evaluating your priorities and making sure they're in alignment with your goals and what you want.
Yeah, I love this discussion, beyond the work and the professional, things that we talk about. So also talking about personal life, and just to get our guests, to know you better. That's always helpful. So yeah, brands are growing. Probably they manage all these P&L and data over like Google Sheets or something. But at some point of time, it doesn't work anymore, right? And probably that triggers you as well, probably to develop AI, to develop software. Tell us more about the platform and what it's doing, and how did you eventually decided to launch it?
I've been involved with lots of software through the years. The industry, the Amazon industry, the Amazon community is small. It generally is small, even worldwide. Like I'm sure we have mutual people we know. If we go down the list, 1 or 2 people removed. Like it's just a very small community. And I've been paying thousands in software for years and years, like especially they've gone up from advertising automation software to inventory software to profitability. There's not any one software that exists for all of it. That's the best at it. Or you might have profitability for Amazon, but not for Walmart, or not for TikTok Shop, a new one, or maybe your warehouse software. So my software costs as an agency are very high. Okay. And the last couple of years, I've been looking at ways to lean up and stay in the business and stay healthy. And one of those is cutting expenses or cutting costs. And you also come up with the software having problems. Like that's just how it is. So my goal for several years has been, if I could get a software that thinks of all of these different areas together instead of them in silos. One, it would no one has this. No brand that I talk to, whether it's a Fortune 5 company, Fortune 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or outside the list, they don't have this. Maybe they're doing Excel. Maybe they just wait for their bookkeeper to reconcile. But if they're waiting on their bookkeeper to reconcile their books from last month, generally it's a month or 2 months behind almost that you're getting accurate data. That's too slow, because someone like me will be making moves weekly and daily while you're waiting 2 months. And by the time you've lost money for 2 months, you've lost money for 2 months. You're now chasing that. So having the software regular instead of just waiting on your bookkeeper to tell you if you made money or not is very important, even if it's not down to the reconciled dollar. So my goal, it hasn't even been to sell the software. It's simply to make my team, my account managers, my pods, more informed, more, we can inform our customers, yes, but also like when we're giving suggestions and feedback, we're not just making an advertising change based on conversion rate and ROAS. We're thinking about how much stock do we have? What's our margin on that product? Can we afford to increase bids? Can we enforce this? Can we can we raise bids and not lose margin? Or if the stock is selling out, why would we be pushing ads and doubling down on the margin? So really thinking about PPC, inventory, and profitability as 3 major pillars that are all cross-referencing each other and giving us insights on them. Because if I had all the time in the world, I design with this in mind. If I had all the time in the world, what would I build? What would help me? What would help my team? What would help customers? Like, instead of being like, this is hard, or I can't do that, or this or this, I just think about, if I had all the time in the world, what would I build? And I would build, it'd be Excels and pivot tables, and I would grab every report from every platform that I could, and I would put them all together, and I would look at every single piece of data. But when you're an agency or you're a business owner, you only have so much time in the day. So maybe you do that once a quarter, and then you come back to it in 3 months or once a year if you're lucky. My goal is to make it more of a regular part of the day-to-day, instead of just like we're just checking inventory once a year, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
so getting it faster and getting more data at our fingertips, mixed with what are all the things we've learned over the last 15 years, or that we can combine as, it's just me. It's not just me, it's my whole team and all of our knowledge. And with those learnings in place, can we see scenarios ahead of time? Can we diagnose, kind of like an instrument at the hospital? It just tells you where to focus and what to get after faster.
Yeah. Interesting. And it seems that it's connected to various areas of the workflow, which makes sense, right? The sales channels, analytics, warehouse, like inventory levels, supply chains issues, probably, right? So like finance, working capital that you need to create new inventory, and then it helps you make decision. So is it something that you plan also to license or to sell it as a standalone product?
Well, that's not my goal first. I think with what I have in mind, because I have an agency functioning, I have these things, is first to build something that helps me and my team, and then provides value to my customers. Like, they can't get this somewhere else. Like that's just a value add. The second part is, as a service-based agency, is pretty widely known that these are like the hardest companies to scale, or the hardest companies, to exit, to have value.
Yes.
So adding in that proprietary IP piece that really pulls it all in and kind of brings that knowledge in, I think brings extra value to my agency as well.
For sure.
And it was something that before AI, I was really leaning on a lot of overseas developers, hiring talent like this almost in like part-time modes when I could afford it, or when I could have time to push to them, because it was all coming out of there. And now with Claude Code, and I already had a good base that I was building on, and I've just kind of taken it on my own. It's just me now. But instead of having to work and communicate with 5 developers and doing little pieces like that, it's like I work on it when I can, kind of obsessively.
Yes.
And, but I'm just using, that was the real difference with AI agents, is helping me code this and build it. But it does a lot of things, like, think about it like it auto tags products. So, we're talking about profitability. We're talking about KPIs and things like this. Well, in a normal account, you might have, let's say, 10 products that are been up and running for a year or something. You might be launching 2. Well, the 2 that you're launching have different metrics, KPIs, like they need to have different signals than the ones that are already established. And so, you can't have a system that's only looking with one set of rules. It needs to be able to look with multiple. So like auto tagging products, this one's low stock, this one we're just launching, this one we're in growth mode, or we're trying to clean out inventory. Being able to tag your products differently, so they kind of get different rules or different views attached, is ways that it helps us in the day-to-day.
Nice. And Drew, for many years, Amazon was probably the first place to start when you're just entering the US market, or you're launching your brands, whether you're successful internationally in your domestic market and want to launch in the US. But things have changed a lot, right? It's very crowded, it's much more expensive, and you have other options today, right? With TikTok Shop, maybe Walmart, Temu. Video is so powerful, so influencer marketing and all that. So how do you, I know you cannot provide an answer because every case is something you need to research. So, but how do you approach, launching a new brand, in the US market through these various channels?
Yeah. So based on the category, I think is where it comes with how much firepower do we need? What channel should we be on at the same time? Like, do we need a Meta or YouTube strategy at launch of the Amazon account? Generally we launch with Amazon first, at least there. Even if we're doing a D2C, we don't want that traffic that's going to naturally come to Amazon finding someone else. So, usually suggest with that. But for example, if we were launching a pet brand from let's say Ireland, because that's happened recently, right? They're established internationally. They're all over the world. They're coming into the US market. One, made it easy because we have a warehouse to help them with that. That's the example of it working vertically like that. The other is it's huge, but very saturated. So, Amazon alone is not going to get the job done. We're going to need to add, traffic coming from Meta and traffic coming from Google, and a website that's informational for people looking for a brand they don't know about that serves that well. Eventually TikTok and affiliates and influencers. Do we start with all of it at the same time? No. But it is definitely part of our roadmap, and it's more about getting established on one, but understanding that like the real growth we want is going to be incremental, and it's going to be slowly adding these other channels. For example, with that one, which is why I started the convo, Chewy.com is a marketplace that does very well here.
Yeah.
But it's not one that I would start with before we hit the others. Why? Because pricing is hard to adjust, and they really look at the other channels to decide how much to order, and some of that nuance. So there's other categories, for example, that the competition is really low. It's unsexy. It's kind of untapped. There's still plenty of those categories, in my opinion. And with those channels, having a strong Meta or TikTok strategy is not as important to getting success. And for what is success to that brand? What is success to us? For me, it's making 3x what my fees are. If I can make them 3x in profit, they're never letting me go.
Yeah.
So if I think about what's success for them, that makes success for me, is kind of how I think about it. If I'm not paying for myself at least twice over or 3 times over, maybe they're looking, after time, maybe they're looking around to be like, who can I date next? Or, who's going to help take me there? So for each brand, depending on their margins as well, depends on how fast we need to get there. And can this channel alone get us there, or do we need others realistically? And I think that, that's really the main thing to think about, is like, okay, for example, there's a brand that just did a $7,000 month, a little under $7,000 in sales on Amazon, but their profit was nearly $3,000, their profit margin. Okay. So they have really good margins. So we're growing slowly, but that product has great margin. Whereas another product, we've got, 35,000 in sales and we're at a 5% margin. 30. So like, it's not just about top line. It's kind of the margin, it's the category, it's all those things.
The category has a lot of influence, right, on the P&L, right?
That's
some niches or categories are less crowded, probably, right? Less people are like products that are buying on a daily basis. Maybe some of the unique, opportunities. And this is an area. What do you tell brand owners when they say everything is expensive, it's too difficult? I mean, like, 10 years ago, you could spend, 10K on ads on Facebook, and you're going to get 150K, guaranteed almost. But these days are over. So what do you tell these founders who are feel frustrated?
Well, if I'm talking to a founder that still believes we should be, living as if it was 10 years ago, we're probably not a good fit. Yeah. It's just going to be hard for me, hard for the team. Expectations will always be bad. So hopefully I'm weeding them out before we're deep into the trenches together. For me as a founder that leads sales, it's like expectation setting from day one and just trying to let them know. And I think a lot of times brands find me because of that kind of speaking and my my personality and kind of putting that out there as our brand.
Yeah, like under promise, over deliver, right? And we had at least one opportunity that we work together that I totally agree. This is your style, and I love it a lot. Yeah.
And it's not because we haven't won. It's that, like, for me, a sign of trust is if I say we're going to do this and we don't, even if we do good, at some level I've misled you. Or, some people could see it that way. Some people could just say we're in sales. For me, if I say we do this and we hit it, that's a win. If I say we're going to do this and we do more, that's a win. If I say we're going to do more and we do less, that's a loss. So I'll take my 2/3 chance of being right, and to me, it's very much about, just like dating. Let's say you meet the girl of your dreams. Okay. You meet the girl of your dreams tomorrow. You go on a date. It's a beautiful date. You're in love, it's her. If you tell her you love her right away, if you take it too far, or you're like, marry me, or you're talking about the future and kids, and you're going to ruin it, even if it's a perfect thing. So it's a silly example, but like, even when I'm working with a new brand, I think of it like a relationship, and it's not about going all the way. It's not about jumping into marriage on the first date or anything like that. It's about getting to build trust together, and me saying some things that end up being right and that move us in the right direction, and building that trust so then I can lead us. Otherwise, there's a ton of friction. I mean, that's the goal anyway, is to build that trust early, pick a channel, get some cohesiveness, some chemistry on that, some goals moving in the right direction, and then growing from there.
Yeah. I mean, it's like babies, right? You need to crawl before you can walk, right? So it's steps. So you can't.
As an agency owner, I'd love to charge you for everything. Let's do TikTok.
The steps you have to take, right?
I think that's just important. It's important, and even the brand owners, when they're asking for it, sometimes I'll be like, "Are you sure this is what you want?" Because I can say yes and take Walmart, TikTok Shop, Amazon, Shopify all the same time. I have a big team. We can do all of that. But very rarely do they or their team going to be able to execute on all that at the same time anyway. And we're just a partner. We're not a do everything for you. So I'm really trying to just see the patterns that happen, and say, guys, as a brand, we need to do all these things, but there's time. A good brand is not built overnight. Viral moments are good for brands, but they don't build brands. Consistency, slow incremental growth, knowing why you got sales, why you didn't get sales, knowing what your margins are, knowing what keywords drive sales, building relationships with influencers versus just having mass market. This is what builds a brand in a tight space in 2026.
Yes. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, Drew, for you these days, I mean, who is your ideal customer? What type of customers are you looking for?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. It's easier to say what I'm not looking for, but
Okay.
Just for tongue in cheek, like, I love international brands. I grew up abroad, but I'm in the heart of America. I have an international team, but I'm right in the heart of America. There's probably not an area. Hopefully the World Cup shows some of this. I'm not sure that there's another state. Kansas City is in the heart of America. It is like as American as you can get in regards to culture. Okay.
Yes.
So from here, you can work with a lot of the others. We're not the biggest market, but we are like centralized. So it's not too influenced by international culture, where I think that gives us an advantage when it comes to helping international brands understand the American customer, understand, selling on Amazon.com. We're very experienced in that aspect. So international brands, a lot of times they're not living off of this launch. They're generally like, they have a business, maybe in retail or in e-com. They have infrastructure. They know their product. They just don't know our market, if that makes sense. So I love that, because there's a lot that they can bring. I also love a lot of times they have almost like a built-in customer base here in the US if they're an international brand, because a lot of times they're selling a cultural product that automatically we're going to get that demographic to engage with our brand, which is a unique thing that not every brand has. Let's say one of the brands me and you were talking to, right? It's a food item. There's a culture that's looking for it. Maybe country based, maybe nationality based, maybe not, but in some cases, yes. And that is a little winning lever, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So I like that. I like the experience that they have. I like the culture that they have, and they're very loyal. A lot of times, once they're hard to trust, slow to move, but once they do, a lot of times, they pick their person, they pick their team. They're very loyal, and I think of myself in the same way. So I think we just blend well. Now, that's not to say we don't work well with U.S. brands or this or that. I'm just picking one to kind of explain why, and I think it's something that, for those brands specifically, we can bring them a ton of value, and help them.
And probably they need more just for someone to execute on a specific channel, right? They need a local partner, all right, to think strategically and building a strategy for them and grow and executing, right? So
and just one more small thing on that is, like, my team is international. We have team members from all over the world, from Serbia to India to Colombia, to Europe, different parts of Europe, to Kansas City, right, to Florida. So we're an international team. one thing I've learned over the last, decade and a half is selling in the US. Like, let's say, very straightforward would be like a German brand selling into the US. German brands don't want any fluff. They want direct communication. Tell us what you're selling. Tell us what's in it. Tell us how it's made. Don't spend time emotionally connecting with me about my dog. And the US is all emotional. Like, it's rude if you just sell to me, if you talk direct to me like that and don't try to make me feel something. I feel rude. I'm thrown off. I'm not going to buy from you either. Now, there's individuals, but like in general, that's the two cultures. Another one would be like, a lot of talented Amazon professionals in India and Pakistan and the Philippines. A lot of people in that culture have never been to the US or experienced like, a retail mall here or different things like that. So these nuances of like who you're working with and just the normal differences in life. Like, I don't know if you've been to China or, different parts of Asia. It's extremely different than the West. Right. So in those aspects, it's almost like no matter how hard they try, there's going to be certain things that they're missing, certain nuance. I think it's called localization, and so it's always like, what value can we bring, and for me, could really help with that localization piece. And we spent thousands of dollars learning it the hard way that like, we had a design team that wasn't our design team is in Kansas City and Colombia now. And before that, we had a design team in different parts of the world. And we just always struggled to get the storytelling right, the way we presented it. Even if I was communicating it to my team, we couldn't get it. And it wasn't until we found a culture that was more in alignment with like the US and the West and how we buy and sell to each other here that we really started turning the corner as a team.
Yes. Super interesting. And how do you do your marketing, Drew? What type of activities do you do? How do you generate those opportunities for Marknology?
Yeah, so that has been the most challenging part, I think, of entrepreneurship for me is I started as Amazon, just a doer, a pro, like a consultant, to get into Amazon and just understand everything about a business. But Marknology is a B2B business. It's different. Yeah. It's different than a marketplace, right? And so I think as the business has grown, as my brand has grown, it's been easier because this is almost like what I was taught my parents were teachers, educators. And I was taught relationship building and community building. Like that was maybe what I was taught from my father. That didn't help me in business till I got to the point where those things mattered and you're starting to get out there. But it's very much putting out content, being yourself, being your brand, being consistent. Podcasts like this, speaking events. I speak, around the world, at different Amazon events, things like that. Great partnerships. So for us, it's doing good work consistently and being known for that. In Kansas City, definitely known as the guy to go to for Amazon. That was always a goal, is like, look, my city's 2 million people. If I'm not known here, big fish, small pond kind of thing. If I'm not known here, why does it matter about New York or LA or Israel or anywhere, right? So that's kind of been the goal. A lot of referral partnerships we work with, like, you got a great Shopify partner, you got a great Meta partner, you've got a great software partner, working hand in hand with them. And so being their go-to, lots of different business brokers that help brands find the right partner for them, kind of like a matchmaker. So a variety of things. What I don't do is I don't run ads. I don't think that attracts the type of customers that I want. I've tried that, the shows, I go, I speak there, I walk around, I get to know people. I've tried scaling all the way up to enterprise level, like being like, okay, we've handled some of these enterprise clients. Maybe we need to like move into that market. And I backpedaled from there. It just wasn't for me. Not to say we can't work with $1 billion brands, because we do work with $1 billion brands, but generally I like that scaling phase from 500K or $1 million to, the 10 or 20 million mark. We do plenty of launches also, like, but that's just the type of teams I like to work with. And so I'm trying to attract those types of customers as well. I think it's just the best fit.
Yeah. And you also run a YouTube channel, right?
I do. I love making content. When as an entrepreneur founder, some people don't like it. Some people are just brilliant business owners. It has nothing to do with talking about the subject. I love this stuff, man. Like
Nice.
I love this stuff. It's hard. And I think because it's hard, it's challenged me a lot and it's kept my focus. Someone that's the ADHD a little bit, we all have a little bit of that, a little bit of those things. And e-commerce for me has kept me, it's been hard enough that it's kept me focused for a long time.
Nice. The YouTube channel came from your own passion. You wanted to create content, or you thought about it as a marketing channel, or maybe a mix of both?
Yeah, I never was like an acquisition channel for me. It was more like if people are looking into Marknology or Andrew Morgan's, I want them to have some pieces of content that they can ingest and feel like they can get to know me a bit better through my content. Before 2020, I was going really hard, almost in like the Gary V type of approach, kind of like follow me, watch me work kind of thing. 2020 changed that, and I really pivoted to more of a podcast style. That podcast I was a part of for 4 years sold. I was a co-host, not the owner of the podcast, so it sold several million, which is cool. But I'm starting over kind of on the podcast front, and I love podcasting. But it's just one time I did a presentation at my local university, and there was 27 different ways I had written down that I had engaged a customer. From the gym to a coffee shop to speaking events. I wrote them all down because my point was there's not just one way to do anything. But it is always about always being on, always being ready to put your business out there, always being ready to talk passionately about what you do. And if you do that, whatever channel you're on, I think it will attract people. My YouTube goals are mainly because I saw some colleagues of mine that were doing better, and I got motivated to join them in the push.
Got it. What's the name of the channel, by the way?
It's just Marknology. You can find me pretty easy just with Andrew Morgan's with an S, or Marknology. Made up the name Marknology 15 years ago. So there's not a lot of competition for that. And Andrew Morgan's with an S is almost as unique. So between those, you can find me on YouTube. And hopefully this episode, when it gets published, will have tagged me there, and they can find my channel that way.
For sure. Where other places people can find you?
LinkedIn, even Instagram, more of my personal brand, entrepreneurship, that personal life kind of like stresses and thinking and books I'm reading. LinkedIn more for the business kind of content, like around Amazon and e-com and things like that. But honestly, wherever someone is, I'd love to engage with them there, really.
Yes. Nice. And in terms of the content, this is seems like it's part of your weekly, routine, right? And you spend.
It is. I don't know about other founders and how they do things. But for me, it's been the best thing for my business is showing people what we believe here, how we work, how we think, or what our systems are like. And not saying it's outsourcing to have anyone help you or scale out of it, but there's different ways to do different things. And if you're a software, it's not very personal. If you're a service-based business where you're talking every week with the customer, in the trenches with them, emailing, you talk to them sometimes more than your mother. I think that is a content that shouldn't be outsourced. And so if I want to attract the people that are going to be a good fit for us.
I mean, founder-led content is so powerful, definitely when it's authentic, coming from you, for sure. Wow, Drew, this was great. Anything else you want to add?
Just that, look, I think what a lot of brand owners and entrepreneurs and marketplace pros and everyone forgets is that e-com is in its definition a testing platform. It is something that is always changing. You always have to be testing. You can't get stuck in your ways. SOPs are great, but only so good. You have to be able to throw the playbook away and reinvent your brand sometimes and try new things, try new channels. Don't get too negative or pessimistic about this thing not working or this thing not working. There's a million ways to do it. And I don't know about you, but I can try something for every day for a year. And then the 366th day, it works. So it's just a reminder, people get burnt out and they get negative about things. But we're still winning with brands. And, the playbook doesn't look the same as it looked 6 months ago or a year ago, and that can be overwhelming too. But just a reminder that And I tell my team this all the time, that it's like, we have to be constantly testing and trying new things. And the expectation should be that that is a significant portion of what you do in your strategy, whatever channel you're on.
Yeah, that was a great summary. Drew, thank you so much. I wish you really great success and all the best.